Unit 2, Writing Systems of Equations. This continues what we did yesterday, but this time it deals with word problems. So in example 1, it says a boy has 25 coins in his piggy bank, consisting of only dimes and quarters. The total value is $3.25. How many dimes, D, and how many quarters, Q, does the boy have? Now, some of you guys can just do this in your head, but this isn't just about doing it in your head, because sometimes the EOC question, all it wants you to do is all it wants you to do is write the equations of the systems. So sometimes it's not asking for the total amount. So we're going to set it up in equations, and then we're going to actually solve for it. So here we know that dimes is D and Q is the quarters, and it's giving us that there are 25 coins in his piggy bank, and we know that the total value is $3.25. So here is what we're going to say. We're going to say the number of dimes plus the number of quarters is going to give us the total number of coins that he has in his bank, which is 25. Now, the other part that we're going to do is we're going to find the total value. Well, what are the values of a coin that's a dime and a quarter? Well, a dime is 10 cents, correct? And we would write it 0.10 D plus, and the value of a quarter, which is 25 cents, Q, is equal to the 325. So sometimes this is all it'll ask for, and it'll give it to you as multiple choice answers, and they'll have these numbers in all different places. But here you just need to know that the number of the number of dimes plus the number of quarters is equal to 25, and that the value of a dime plus the value of a quarter gives us the 325 that they said in the problem. Now let's go a step further, and what we're going to find out is we're going to find out how many of each do they have. And like I said, some of y'all can do this in your head, but we're going to do this a little bit using algebra. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to solve both of these equal to Q. I could solve them for D, but I'm just going to solve them for Q. So I'm going to move the D, change its sign, and divide by the number in front of the Q. Well, there's not a number in front of the Q, so this is it. So it would be Q equals 25 minus D. But we can't put that in the calculator like that. So the way we're going to put it in the calculator is like this, where Y and Q are the same thing, and D and X are the same thing. So now we're going to do the same thing on this one. Move the D, change the sign, and then we're going to divide by the number in front of the Q. And this time, since we're going to put this in the calculator, I'm not going to simplify. So this is a little bit different from yesterday, where I made y'all simplify. Since all we're doing here is finding what the values are, I'm just going to leave it as is. So this is going to go to 1, which is what we want. So in the calculator, we're going to use Y equals 3.25 minus 0.10 D divided by 0.25. So I'm going to put this into Y1 and this into Y2. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to put in Y1, I'm going to put in this first problem. So 25 minus X. And then on the second one, again, we could simplify that, but just to keep it from us making a mistake, I'm just going to leave it as is. And the 0.25 should be at the bottom. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press graph, and I have to see this intersect. And I'm actually going to zoom this to where it would be on your calculator. I've been playing with the settings so you guys could see this automatically. But if you were to graph it on your own to begin with, if you hadn't messed with the settings, this is what it would look like on your calculator. So you can only see the red just a little bit, and you can't see the blue line at all. So here's where you have to zoom out. And remember, if that little yellow thing is moving, it's working. So don't press enter because it'll pause it. So here we can see the intersection. So now I can do second trace 5. So my X is 20 and my Y is 5. So my X is equal to 20. My Y is equal to 5. Well, my X was my dimes. I should have written an X here. So my X is my dimes. And my 5 is my quarters. So we have 20 dimes and 10 and 5 quarters. So if we wanted to check, we could say 20 times 0.10, or really 0.10 times 20 plus 0.25 times 5. And that gives us 325 that we wanted. Now if we add the quarters and the dimes, we get the 25. So that's just checking our work to make sure that it works on that one. Alright, so that's how you do that one problem. It's a lot of work for one problem. Okay, example 2. And we're going to actually stop on this example. We're not going to go to example 3 because I don't want to run out of time. Okay, so we have 3 pens and 2 notebooks that cost $8.25. And then we have 2 pens and 3 notebooks that cost $8. How much would 2 pens and 2 notebooks cost? So very rarely will you see it like this. This is just kind of trying to get you to go a step further. But on your EOC, usually they make you set it up like we did here, or they make you give one of the answers like we did here. So sometimes it'll ask like just what is the cost, or what are the number of dimes, or what are the number of quarters. Like here they would probably ask for you to set it up, or they would say what is the cost of 1 pen, or what is the cost of 1 notebook. Very rarely will they ask you to take that extra step where you're having to do an extra thing to it. They can, I'm not saying that they won't, but very rarely do they. So here's what we know. We know that P is pens and N is notebook. So I'm going to go ahead and set up both these equations. Now here's what I do know. I do know that 3 pens plus 2 notebooks costs $8.25. And I also know that 2 pens and 3 notebooks, so 2 pens and 3 notebooks cost $8. So just like we did up here, I'm going to solve for one of the letters, and I'm just going to pick N. So the reason why I'm picking N is because it's kind of like in that Y spot. Again, I could have solved for P just as easily. And again, we're going to cheat a little bit, and we're not going to simplify. So I moved the P, changed its sign, and I divided by the number in front of the N. So here, remember, N is our same thing as Y. We're going to type in 8.25 minus 3x divided by 2. So that'll go into Y1. And then on this problem, we're going to solve for N. So we're going to move the P, change its sign, divide by the number in front of the P. I'm sorry, in front of the N. So on Y2, we're going to do 8 minus 3p divided by, 8 minus 2p divided by 3. So this will go into y2. So I'm going to go to my calculator and I'm going to type in 8.25 minus 3x over 2, and then I'm going to type in 8 minus 2x over 3. Now I'm going to make sure that it's back in standard form, so I press zoom 6. Now these take a little bit to graph because it's in fraction form, so it does take a little bit longer to graph. I can see the intersection, so I'm going to do second trace 5. And it says here that my x is 1.5 and my y is 3.5. Well, what is 3.5? 3.5 is just really 1.5. So my x is 1.75 and my y is 150. So how much does it cost? These are the notebooks, and these are these are notebooks, and these are pens. So how much would it cost to buy 2 pens? So we would do this over here, kind of box this out. So 150 times 2 plus 175 times 2. If you let the calculator do the work, so we take $1.50 times 2 and we're adding it to 175 times 2 and we get $6.50. So how much would it cost? It would cost $6.50. And again, for time's sake, I'm going to stop here so that you guys can have time to work on the classwork.